All right, so are you one of those people who loves a good brain teaser? You know, like those memory games or puzzles that really make you think?
Well, today we're going to be taking a deep dive into this really interesting podcast I found called Memory and Melody.
Yeah, and as you might guess, it's all about, well, memory challenges, but with a cool twist.
They use music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They use music to kind of set the mood and maybe even help jog your memory a little bit.
And it's amazing how effective that can be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, our brains are wired to connect music with memories,
Like you hear a certain song.
and boom, you're instantly transported back to, prom night or that summer road trip.
It's powerful stuff.
It really is. So in this episode of Memory and Melody, they start off with this really pretty piece of music.
They call it the memory box track.
Yeah, and it's just so evocative, right? Like light piano, soft strings.
It really sets the stage.
It does. And then they hit you with this picnic memory puzzle.
Okay, this sounds fun.
It is, but it's also tough. So basically, they describe this picnic scene, right? And you have 30 seconds to memorize as many details as you can.
30 seconds? That doesn't sound like a lot of time.
It's not. And here's the catch.
Yeah.
They want you to remember really specific things.
Like what?
Like the types of cheese on the picnic blanket. There are 3, and you got to remember all 3.
Okay, that's tricky.
Right. And then there's this hidden object tucked away somewhere in the scene, and you have to remember what it is. And then to make things even more challenging, you have to remember which direction a line of ants is marching in.
Wow. That's a lot to keep track of in just 30 seconds.
It is. I actually tried it myself while listening, and I have to say, it really makes you focus, you know?
I bet it's like a workout for your brain.
Exactly. And, it made me think about how we often just go through life on autopilot, kind of missing those little details.
We're so busy looking at the big picture.
Yeah. But it's those tiny details that often make up our most vivid memories, right?
Absolutely. It's like that famous scene in Prost's Remembrance of Things Past, where he tastes a Madeleine cookie.
And suddenly he's flooded with memories of his childhood.
Exactly. It's amazing how these seemingly insignificant things can trigger such powerful memories.
It really is. And, it makes you wonder, how does music fit into all of this? Is it just about triggering emotions, or is there something more going on?
Well, I think it's both. It's definitely about the emotional connection, but there's also a neurological component to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there's this part of our brain called the hippocampus,
Oh,
and it plays a crucial role in both memory formation and processing music. So when you hear a familiar song,
it activates the hippocampus.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that creates pathways to associated memories. It's like music is kind of greasing the wheels of recall.
Wow, that's fascinating. So it's like music provides this framework for memories to kind of latch onto.
That's a great way to put it.
So, okay, moving on. Memory and Melody also introduced this other memory technique in this episode.
What's that?
It's called shadow recall.
Shadow recall.
Yeah, and it sounds kind of spooky, right? Like you're literally being followed by your memories.
Uh-huh. I can see why you'd think that.
But can you explain what it actually is?
Sure. So it's basically about retracing your steps throughout the day, but instead of just remembering where you went.
You focus on the sensory details.
Right. So it's like you're paying attention to the smell of coffee in the morning, the feel of a doorknob, the snippet of a conversation you overhear on the street.
Interesting. So it's about tuning into those little things that we usually filter out.
Exactly. It's about being more present, more mindful of the world around you.
That sounds like a real challenge, though. I mean, I can barely remember what I ate for breakfast.
Well, that's the thing. It's not about having perfect recall. It's more about training yourself to be more observant.
Oh, okay. So the more you practice, the better you become at noticing and remembering these details.
Precisely. It's like strengthening a mental muscle.
So both the picnic puzzle and shadow recall, they're really about honing that muscle of mindful observation.
Right, because it's not just about remembering random details.
It's about applying that skill to everyday life.
Yeah, and appreciating the richness of our experiences.
So instead of just rushing through our day, we're actually slowing down and noticing the way the light changes throughout the day.
The way a friend's face lights up when they smile.
The smell of rain on the pavement.
Exactly. These seemingly small things, they actually make up the fabric of our memories.
And by paying attention to them.
We're essentially creating a richer tapestry of memories to draw from.
It's like we're turning up the volume on life's soundtrack.
I love that analogy.
And speaking of soundtracks, has a song ever just completely thrown you back to a specific memory?
Yeah.
Like you hear the first few notes?
Oh, absolutely. It happens to me all the time.
Me too. It's like a time machine.
There's this one song that always takes me back to my grandmother's kitchen. I can smell her baking, hear her humming along to the radio. It's all so vivid.
Just because of the melody?
Music is amazing like that.
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the big question is, what seemingly insignificant details from today will we remember a year from now?
What will become those spark memories?
Exactly. Will be the sound of the leaves rustling outside.
The way the sunlight hits your coffee cup just so.
Or maybe even a particular phrase from this conversation.
Who knows?
But by practicing that shadow recall, by really paying attention.
You can make those everyday moments into memories that we treasure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep those memories sharp and those melodies playing.
See you next time.